Thank you for joining the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Northwestern Division for today's Missouri River Basin Water Management and Emergency Operations Conference Call. Today is March 23rd, 2019. Our leaders have asked that we continue to hold this call throughout the weekend. The next call will take place tomorrow, Sunday, at 3 p.m. Central Time. Today's call is intended to provide congressional representatives, tribal, state, and local government officials, and the media an update on the Corps' actions in the basin with regard to water management operations and support to local communities, states, and tribes. I am Tom O'Hara, and I will be moderating today's call. This call is also being recorded and will be placed on the Defense Video and Imagery Distribution System at www.dividsHub.net/unit/USAFE-MWD. I will spell that. www.dvidhub.net/USACE-MWD. Your participation acknowledges your consent to be recorded. We also share this call and more information on our Facebook and Twitter sites at NWDUSACE. All lines have been placed on mute during this call. When we get to the question and answer period, to unmute your line to ask your question, please press *6. Please also be aware that the forced mute function does not work on all phones, so I ask to please also use your own phone's mute function to avoid interrupting the call. We also ask you to not place your phones on hold. I want to clarify that Corps Emergency Operations Center lines are intended for emergency managers and levee partners. Members of the public should check 511 for road closures and 211 for other questions and look to their county and local emergency managers for further guidance. Today's agenda will include an update on the Corps' actions and plans for managing water releases from the 6 Main Dam, an update from the National Weather Service, an update of actions being taken by the Corps of Engineers Omaha District, and an update of actions being taken by the Corps' Kansas City District. With that, I'll turn it over to John Remus.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, I'm John Remus, Chief of the Missouri River Basin Water Management Division. Our office is responsible for regulating the Missouri River main stem reservoir system. In the last few days, I've started off with the Gavin's Point releases. I'm going to start with a whole system summary here today. First, with the mountain snowpack, that remains average, and we should still see it accumulate over the next 3 weeks before it peaks, but right now it is average. We are beginning to see the plain snow melt run off into the upper basin reservoirs. I will provide a brief status of each of the projects from upstream to downstream. Over the past 24 hours at Fort Peck, the inflows have averaged approximately 42,000 cubic feet per second. Releases have averaged 6,300 cubic feet per second, and the pool has risen about 0.3 feet. The pool is expected to rise about 4 feet over the next 3 weeks. Over the last 24 hours at Garrison, the inflows have averaged 42,000 cubic feet per second. Releases have averaged 13,700 cubic feet per second, and the pool has risen about 0.1 feet. The pool is expected to rise about another 5 feet over the next 3 weeks. Over the last 24 hours at Oahe, the inflows have averaged 47,000 cubic feet per second. Releases have averaged 4,000 cubic feet per second, and the pool has risen about 0.3 feet. The pool is expected to rise about 7 feet over the next 3 weeks. Over the last 24 hours at Big Bend, the inflows have averaged 17,000 cubic feet per second. Releases have averaged 10,200 cubic feet per second, and the pool has risen about 0.3 feet. It is important to note that Big Bend is a re-regulation project with very little flood control storage, and the pool will remain approximately elevation 1420 as the year goes on. Over the past 24 hours at Fort Randall, the inflows have averaged 47,000 cubic feet per second, and the pool has risen 1 foot. Releases were reinitiated this morning and are presently 4,000 cubic feet per second, and are expected to increase to 12,000 cubic feet per second tomorrow. The pool at Fort Randall is expected to rise about 4 feet over the next 3 weeks. The increase, Increased releases are necessary in order to reduce the chances of the Fort Randall Pool entering the exclusive flood control zone, which would then precipitate even larger system releases from Gavin's Point Dam. The travel time from Fort Randall Dam to Gavin's Point Reservoir is about a day and a half. With respect to Gavin's Point, it is important to understand that Gavin's Point is also a re-regulation project with very little flood control storage. Releases from Gavin's Point Dam remain at 24,000 cubic feet per second, and the pool has dropped about 0.3 feet. Over the last 24 hours, inflows into Gavin's Point have averaged about 20,000 cubic feet per second, primarily from the Niobrara River. A reconnaissance of the lower Niobrara River yesterday indicated that there is a lot of water stored in the floodplain of the Niobrara River. We expect the inflows into Gavin's Point Reservoir to decline at a slow rate as this stored water moves downstream. We plan to maintain the 24,000 cubic feet per second release until the next peak flow on the Big Sioux River occurs, and then begin to increase flows to 32,000 cubic feet per second. A system release of 32,000 cubic feet per second is about average for this time of year. This increase is necessary as the releases from Fort Randall increase. We will continue to evaluate the conditions and make adjustments as necessary. We will share our revised release schedule in our daily update, which is found on our website. Our Gavin's Point and Fort Randall release reduction schedule has been shared with the National Weather Service's Missouri Basin River Forecast Center for input into their river forecast. After my talk, Kevin Lau, the lead hydrologist for the River Forecast Center, will discuss their Missouri River forecast. Regarding the entire six-project Missouri River main stem reservoir system, we have 14.8 million acre-feet of the 16.3 million acre-feet of flood control storage, or 91% available to store upper basin runoff. We are reevaluating our March 1st runoff forecast. Preliminary indications are that the annual runoff in the upper basin above Sioux City will be more than what we forecasted on March 1st. We will continue to monitor runoff conditions over the next few weeks as the temperatures in the upper basin warm up and the remaining plain snowpack melts. Our next official runoff forecast will be April 1st. The one-page weekly update that my office usually publishes every Tuesday is now being published on a daily basis. We will continue to update this on a daily basis until main skip system operations return to normal. This one-page document summarizes Missouri River Basin summarizes system conditions and our short-term operation plans. You can find this update on the Missouri River Basin Water Management webpage, highlighted in yellow under Weekly Update. This concludes my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We will now have an update from Kevin Lau with the National Weather Service. Kevin?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Lau. I work for the National Weather Service, Missouri Basin River Forecast Center in Kansas City. Currently, the crest is now at Leavenworth. The reach between St. Joseph and Leavenworth continues to be in major flood level. Crest is expected to pass the Kansas City gauge overnight tonight. It should be in the Glasgow-Miami reach on Monday, and the Missouri River at its mouth should crest Wednesday or Thursday. As Mr. Remus said, we continue to be in daily communication with the Missouri Basin Water Management Office in Omaha with regard to all six main stem release schedules for incorporation into our river forecast model. We continue also to be in continual conversation with both the Omaha District and the Kansas City District with regard to levee conditions. And today marks the fifth consecutive day that we have had a hydraulic engineer from the Kansas City District in our office to help us, to assist us in the levee river interactions to help us in our forecasting. We do expect that the James River will crest at its mouth due to the ongoing snowmelt, plain snowmelt, near the end of this coming week. The James River at its mouth will remain above major flood through mid-April. When it crests this week, it will have a very minor effect on the Missouri River at Sioux City. There'll be a gradual rise of up to 1 foot and then a gradual fall. The Big Sioux should lose most of its plains snow by the end of this coming week. There will be major level flooding in the Bruce, Brookings, Del Rapids reach this week. Akron on the Big Sioux is in major level now and will remain in major through the week. And as this water makes its way down to Sioux City, the Sioux City gauge is expected to remain roughly where it is today. And so I want to emphasize that we do not expect any significant rise at the mouth of the Big Sioux at Sioux City. There is a chance of precipitation over southeast Nebraska, southwest Iowa, northeast Kansas, and northwest Missouri overnight tonight, with widespread but very minimal amounts of rain. Highest amounts are probably in the order of half an inch, and the meteorologists at my office assure me that this is probably on the high side. The half-inch amounts are on the high side. This rainfall is incorporated, or was incorporated, in this morning's river forecast model. And we're looking dry for the remainder of this week, once we get past tonight. So again, tonight's rain is not expected to have much, if any, effect on the Missouri River flood crests. And I believe this will conclude my remarks from the National Weather Service River Forecast Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We will now have an update of actions being undertaken by the Corps' Omaha District.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel James Sperzel, Deputy Commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Omaha District. Omaha District's focus remains on ensuring the safety of our citizens and communicating the conditions on the river systems to all of our partners and stakeholders. The Corps continues to provide flood fight assistance to state, local, and tribal government agencies as requested. There are over 350 miles of levees on the Missouri, Platte, and Elkhorn rivers and tributaries that have experienced significant flood damage. Due to the magnitude of the damage along these levees, repair of the levee system efforts will take an extended period of time to execute. During these repairs, it's vital for life and safety that people remain vigilant. Any type of rain event has the possibility to cause high water, and that may flow through breaches until they're repaired. A risk of significant flooding exists due to the high plains snowpack in North and South Dakota, especially across eastern South Dakota and the unregulated James and Big Sioux River basins. I can't emphasize enough that residents should continue to monitor the situation and keep in contact with their local and state emergency management organizations to stay updated on any evacuation plans and emergency conditions. Levee breaches can happen quickly or gradually and can occur when water overtops the levee and washes out a portion of the levee, and can also occur at lower water elevations. Warmer temperatures are possible mid to late week, which will result in additional accelerated snowmelt. And a storm system is possible across the plains late this week. However, the track and strength of the system is uncertain, and we will continue to monitor it closely as it develops. Today, Colonel Hudson and the staff visited Pierre, South Dakota, and met with state emergency management officials and discussed the flood forecast, as well as the district's ability to respond to state or tribal requests for assistance. While there, he met with South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem and Congressman Dusty Johnson. He provided a situational update regarding the district's technical assistance in Sioux Falls and discussed the district capabilities for the upcoming spring thaw and potential rain event. The district is sending notification to levee sponsors in the PL 8499 program on Monday the 25th of March with information on how to request damage assessment and levee repairs. Levees must be active in the Public Law 8499 program to be eligible for repairs. Work continues on the Union Dike levee breach repair near Valley, Nebraska. This initial repair will close the breach in the levee along the Platte River. It is a relatively small breach, but it is important because it brings significant impacts to public safety in the local area. Work began yesterday and is expected to take a total of 6 days to complete. As you're aware, much of the levee system remains compromised due to the record inflows surpassing their designated protection levels. As of noon today, there are 47 confirmed full or partial breaches at L611 to 614 south of Council Bluffs, Iowa, L601 south of Glenwood, Iowa, L594 near Fremont County, Iowa, L575 in Fremont County, Iowa, L550 in Atchison County, Missouri, L536 in Atchison County, Missouri, R613 in Sarpy County, Nebraska, R562 in Nemaha County, Nebraska, Western Sarpy in Ashland, Nebraska, Clear Creek in Ashland, Nebraska, Union Levee in Valley, Nebraska, and R573 in Otoe County, Nebraska. And there are still 2 levees that remain overtopping. That is L611, 614, and L550. The Omaha District is initiating efforts to perform damage assessments as the water recedes and access to the levee systems becomes available. The district has already began initiating underwater surveys of scour holes along the Missouri and Platte rivers, as well as aerial imagery to support these assessments. As usual, the Omaha District remains ready to provide flood fight material and technical assistance to state, local, and tribal emergency management agencies. The District Emergency Operations Center's official hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However, the phones are monitored 24/7, and you will be able to get a hold of someone if you call that number. The number is 402-995-2448. I will now be followed by a representative from the Kansas City District.
This is Kansas City. Do you read me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good afternoon. I'm Rick Wetzelbaum. I'm an emergency manager for the Kansas City District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The Kansas City District remains engaged with PL 8499 levee owner sponsors, local, state, and federal emergency management officials, military general officers, and elected officials from the region. We are steadfast in our commitment to provide world-class technical and direct assistance in southeast Nebraska, northeast Kansas, and northwest Missouri. Our Emergency Operations Center activation posture has been revised to reflect a Level 2 status, partial activation. District EOC operating hours are 06:30 to 7 p.m. daily. We can be reached by calling 816-426-6320. We currently have an aerial reconnaissance team in the air over the region from St. Joe, Missouri, and Elwood, Kansas, southward to Parkville, Missouri. River conditions are extremely dangerous, and any water on the levee is a dangerous condition. Pay attention to local, county, and state emergency management officials. Do not bypass any posted warning signs of high water or road closures. Remember, turn around, don't drown. The crest is currently at Leavenworth, Kansas. We anticipate the crest will impact Kansas City tomorrow. We continue to monitor conditions downstream from this reach as the water moves through the region. We have already begun contacting levee sponsors and emergency management officials east of the Kansas City metro area. Since last report, we have 4 federal levees that have overtopped. All of them are in the state of Kansas. The Kansas Department of Corrections levee, Wolcott Drainage District Section 1, Wolcott Drainage District Section 2, and Wolcott Drainage District Section 3. Wolcott Section 1 has since breached. We project that 16 levee systems east of Kansas City will have less than 2 foot of freeboard as the crest moves downstream. Today we have mobile liaison teams, instrumentation teams, and an aerial reconnaissance team in the field providing near real-time information to our Emergency Operations Center. These mobile liaison teams are also distributing requests for assistance for repairs to our PL 8499 program levees. The district has issued over 500,000 sandbags to date Three of our three automatic sandbag machines have deployed multiple times to multiple locations within the Missouri-Kansas footprint. We have filled requests for 7 PTO-driven gator pumps and have issued over 1,300 feet of HESCO. We are well equipped to provide direct assistance and have not yet had to adjudicate any core resources for either state. We continue to provide support to the Kansas Department of Emergency Management, the Missouri State Emergency Management Agency, and FEMA Region 7 headquarters. We have core employees embedded in each of these organizations. To conclude, we're fully staffed with nearly 100 core employees whose sole mission is to respond to and recover from this historic flood. You will continue to see our presence well beyond when the waters subside. We will ensure that all PL 8499 program levies are returned to their pre-flood condition. Thank you. This concludes the district's remarks.
Thank you, Kansas City. I am now going to manage questions based on groups and locations. We will start with congressional, tribal, and state and local governments, and as we go through all the states, we will then allow questions from the media again by state. Please wait for your group and state to be called, and also please remember to hit *6 to unmute your phone before you ask your question. We also ask you to ensure you state your name and the organization you represent before asking your question. We'll now go state by state in alphabetical order. Any Iowa, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives on the phone? Okay, hearing none. Any Kansas, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives on the call? Once again, please hit *6, and if I pass you, don't hesitate to jump back in. We will have alibi questions towards the end. Hearing none from Kansas, any Missouri, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives? Hearing none, any Montana, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives? Once again, a reminder to hit *6. Hearing none, any Nebraska, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives? Hearing none, any North Dakota, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives? Hearing none, any South Dakota, congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives?
Hi, this is Jeff Dooley from Dakota News.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
This is probably a question for John and his team, John Remus and his team. Just for clarification, you said you're at 24,000 now out of Gavin's Point, and you're going to go to 32 late next week after the peak goes by from the Big Sioux. Is that correct?
Yes, John Remus, that is correct.
At the 8,000 CFS, could you maybe quantify what kind of impact that has on water surface elevations, or what are you trying to accomplish with that?
Well, what we're trying to accomplish is, as I mentioned, we're already seeing the plain snowpack melt, get into the reservoirs, and we're expecting all of that to run into the reservoirs. We're not figuring on any infiltration there, so we're expecting those pools to rise very quickly, and we're just trying to manage to make sure we don't get a situation where we have a lot of water stored above the exclusive flood control zone in either Randall or Oahe, particularly. So that's what we're trying to do. What that means is Sioux City, 8,000 CFS, we're probably looking at between 1 and 1.25 feet on the stage there.
Okay.
But again, we're going to come in after the next peak.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions from South Dakota congressional, tribal, or state representatives? Okay, hearing none. Any Wyoming congressional, tribal, or state and local representatives? All right, we'll now move on to the media. However, if any congressional, state, or tribal representatives have a question, we will have time at the end. Once again, please sure to state your name and the organization you represent before asking your question. Any Iowa media on the line? Hearing none, any Kansas media on the line? Hearing none, any Missouri media on the line? Hearing none, any I'm sorry, say it again?
This is Dennis Sharkey with the Mound City News in Northwest Missouri. I'm looking at the long-range river flood risk, and near Rulo, Nebraska, it says 78%. Can somebody kind of put that into context for me, what our long-term flood outlook looks like here in Northwest Missouri?
Kevin, can you address that question?
Yes, this is Kevin Lau with the National Weather Service. Sir, our numbers will be revised this Tuesday. So the number that you had was valid prior to this event. My estimation at this point would be that the Rulo area probably has a the likelihood of seeing minor to possibly moderate level flooding for the remainder of the spring season. It should not see major. But again, these numbers will be revised this Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions from media in the state of Missouri? Hearing none, any Montana media representatives on the line? Once again, reminder to hit *6. Any Nebraska media on the line? Hearing none, any North Dakota media on the line? Hearing none, any South Dakota media on the line? Hearing none, any Wyoming media on the line? Hearing none, any national media on the line?
Yeah, this is Steve Corbin from Reuters News.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, hi. So Rick said something earlier, and I'm not familiar with the terminology. I hear this every now and again. I should get up on it. What does it mean when he says that 16 levee systems east of Kansas City are expected to have less than 2 feet of freeboard? I guess he spoke as the river crest moves downstream. I take it that's like 2 feet of the wall of the levee wall is still free of water on it at the top. Is that right? Is that what that means?
Kansas City District, do you like to address that?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, sorry about that. Technology gets in our way sometimes. Hey, this is Jed Knieven. I'm the Emergency Management Chief. So when he talks about freeboard, he's talking about from the top of the levee down to the water surface, what that vertical distance is. So when he's saying less than 2 feet of freeboard, it means that there's only about 2 feet of the levee sticking out of the water.
All right, that's what I thought. All right.
Okay?
Yeah. So that's not very much.
It is not very much.
Right. And these levees are like 30 feet tall, some of them. They're like 3 stories tall, right?
No, most of these in this area range from probably 10 to 12 feet high above natural ground. They're only built to provide minimal protection from those very frequent flood events. 10 or 20% chance in any given year, maybe.
All right. So when the flood stage at just the other day, yesterday at what's wrong with me? At St. Joseph was peaked out at about 31 or 32 inches, or I'm sorry, 31 or 32 feet. Sorry, that's up the levee wall, right?
Yeah, so there is a right bank levee there called R-471-460, and they had to sandbag portions of that levee to prevent it from overtopping. So it literally had no freeboard in some locations and less than a foot in others.
All right. So that section of the levee wall was like 30 feet high.
So from the gauge, you're asking about stage and the 32 feet and what's that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not relative, so the stage itself is not relative to the levee height. There's a gauge that's positioned out on a railroad bridge, and there's a gauge 0, which is set at a specific elevation, and so basically it's 32 feet above that elevation. Now, the levee systems are correlated to those stages with regard to overtopping, and generally we show the R471, 460 levee system as having will begin to overtop at a stage of 31.5 feet. It proved us wrong yesterday.
Yeah, that was St. Joe.
That was St. Joe, that's correct.
Okay. So you actually had a record crest there.
That's yes.
Yeah, okay. And it did overtop, or?
It did not. It took some extraordinary effort by the local folks there to prevent it from overtopping.
Okay. All right. But I would be wrong if I were to describe that was like 30 feet high up on the levee wall. It wasn't
No. Yeah, that's not accurate.
Yeah.
The levee's not 30 foot tall.
Okay. All right. Thanks for one last thing. You guys said that you all have had overtopping. This is in the Kansas City district. You have had overtopping since yesterday of another 4 federal overtop in the state of Albany, the state of Kansas, and one of them breached. Is that in addition to the previous overtoppings of I think you guys had like 7 in Missouri and 2 in Kansas?
Yes. Yeah. So we had 4 additional from yesterday, so within the last 24-hour period, and they were non-federal levee systems. So those levee systems are designed and constructed and locally owned and operated and maintained, but they're designed and constructed by others. They were not designed and constructed by the Corps, nor were they congressionally authorized. So they're considered non-federal levee systems. And we had 4 that were overtopped, and one of those suffered an overtop breach.
Okay. And those were non-federal levees?
That's correct. They're non-federal levee systems.
Okay. All right. Okay. I thought non-federal meant that I thought the non-federal ones had been built by the Corps but were turned over to somebody else after, like turned over to local.
No. So federal generally in our area recognizes that they're congressionally authorized. They were designed and constructed by the Corps of Engineers, but they end up being locally owned, operated, and maintained. So the levee districts retain the levee after it's constructed. They own the right-of-way on which it sits. So they're locally owned and operated. The non-federals are projects that were designed and constructed by others, but as a local public sponsor, they've agreed to meet certain criteria that are established by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. And if they do that, they become active in our PL 8499 program. And the carrot on that is that if they're damaged by flooding, then they're eligible for rehabilitation assistance.
Okay. And then you also have private levees that are completely not part of the program, right? They're owned and operated by. Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
And private levees are the most numerous group of levees in the country.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Can I get you, how many levees does the federal government own, or how many program levees are there, say, in the Omaha district? Do you know?
Omaha, I'll have to answer that.
Yeah, this is Lieutenant Colonel Starksville. I'm not actually sure. I can get you that number.
That's okay. I don't want to say anybody go to the wall. I'm just curious, because he had like 47 breaches on, he had 47 different breaches so far. I'm just wondering how that compares with, the overall number of levees you have, but that's all. That's all right. It seemed like a lot, but.
There are quite a few breaches across that 350 miles that I described earlier, and that is just our levees along the Missouri Platte and Elkhorn River. So there's a number more of levee systems north of that on the Platte and Missouri.
Okay. All right. Good enough. All right. Thanks very much. Thanks.
One thing to follow on that, we have 40-some breaches. Some of the levees have multiple breaches.
Right. I got it. Yeah. Okay. I got it. Thanks for indulging me. I appreciate it.
No problem, Steve. Hey, real quick, Judd, can you repeat your name, spell your last name, and your appropriate title for Steve?
Sure. It's Judd, J-U-D. The last name's Knieven. It's K-N-E-U-V-E-N. VEAN, and I am the Emergency Management Chief for the Kansas City District Corps of Engineers.
All right, thank you, Mr. Keenan.
Similarly, John, can you get your spelling thing?
Yes. John Remus, Chief of the Missouri River Basin Water Management Division. My last name is spelled R-E-M-U-S.
Gotcha. Lastly, sir, can you repeat yours?
Sure. Lieutenant Colonel James Starksel, last name is spelled S-T-A-R-T-Z as in zebra, E-L-L.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Corey, any other national press on the line?
Hi, this is Jim Salter with the Associated Press.
Go ahead, Jim.
Quick clarification. I thought I heard somebody say that the Missouri River at St. Joe did top the all-time high. Is that correct?
Kevin, can you address that, please?
I believe, so this is Kevin Lau with the National Weather Service. The folks that will actually answer that question in time will be the USGS, the United States Geological Survey. But according to my records, we did hit a new record. The old record was 32.07, and the provisional new record is 32.11. Again, the USGS will make the final determination. If there was
Unofficially, we've set a new record there.
That is correct, yes.
And Kevin, while I've got you, the discussion about the pending snow melt that's still coming from the north, how concerning is that for the downstream areas like Missouri, that this flooding has already happened so early in the season when there's still a lot of snow melt to come?
Well, so I guess there's different ways to answer that. If we had no more rain, then the Missouri River should be able to take the snow melt coming out of the unregulated portions of the basin. In other words, the James, Big Sioux, Vermilion, those are the big players. And we would, the crest coming out later on this week would be more or less, would be under the crest that we've seen this past week. The concerning part is that, the river is high, the Missouri River is high, and there's always a chance of rain that would come in as this new inflow passes through. But it's more concerning along the tributaries themselves. So the Big Sioux in South Dakota and Iowa, folks along the Big Sioux should be concerned because we do expect major level flooding along it. The James River as well. So the local folks along those rivers should be very concerned. Once it hits the Missouri River itself, the concern diminishes. It is not completely gone, but it diminishes.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Jim. Any other national media on the line? Hearing none, any last call for any participants on the line for questions? All right, hearing none, we appreciate your participation today. We will hold another update tomorrow at the same time, 3 p.m. Central, same dial-in number, and same access code. This concludes our call. Have a good afternoon.